Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Silverstone circuit for round 4 of Division 2 here in the Midwest F1 League. I'm Hotspot, and here we are in Northamptonshire for the British Grand Prix. 18 corners make up this 5.8 kilometer circuit with 10 to the right and 8 to the left. The 2 DRS zones here going down both the Wellington and Hangar Straights, with the biggest challenge remaining penalty-free through turns 11 through 14. And the 3 big action zones for this race being through the Wellington Straight into Brooklands, where we saw Sadistic King and Saffron City battle it out for laps on end. Secondly being the chicanes from Maggots to the exit of Chapel, as not only it's a risky part of the track for battling, but it's also picking up penalties, track limits violations on exit of Chapel, which we saw a number of drivers did. And finally, from the Hangar Straight into Stowe, where we saw Valentine make contact with Smith Pell, which resulted in his retirement. So, there's potentially a lot of action to be had here at Silverstone. Definitely. I mean, it's not one of those tracks where it's favorited by a lot of people. However, I will say, as we have a reigning qualifying session, I will say there is absolutely no lack of intensity at this track. And I tell you what, it's going to be even more considering that we are currently in a rained-out qualifying session. This is going to be absolutely ridiculous. Full wet as well. None of that, some people on the intermediates, not some people on the wets. No, this is fully wet qualifying, and that is, I would say, a very welcome sight. I think, honestly, maybe not for the drivers, but as a neutral, definitely for me, that is for sure. As we see, I believe that is an Alpha Tauri coming out first. No, that's actually going to be the Haas of, I believe, Racing Ginger is going to be the first out of he's going to be the first out of the garage there, and oh boy, I bet that climb out of pit road is not that easy. So while we have a minute before we go over our impromptu track guide for driver news this week, the Mercedes team actually finds himself with a temporary new lineup, as both Forza and Hightower are unavailable tonight, and Unholy Red Eye and J-Stee will be their replacements. J-Stee, which I believe is making I don't want to say his debut here, but I have never recognized that name before, so we'll have to see what he can put on. And then finally, Racing Ginger taking over for Spool and Dub in the Haas tonight. He is teaming up with Pork Chops this week, who Pork Chops demoted himself down to Division 1. He felt like the competition was getting a little bit above his pace level, but he's down here in Division 2, where he is more than welcome, and I believe he will be a very, very great addition to the field. As Pork Chops is also lending me his, he's also lending me his video footage for this week. No microphone, but his footage he does have. As it looks like the Alpha Tauri of El Capitano has gotten around the Haas of Racing Ginger, so he will be the first person to start a time lap. Actually, I've lied to you. That is the Alpha Tauri of Will Ans who has done that. So apologies there. As Will Ans currently heads into Vale and then Club. So let's go ahead and start with our impromptu track guide of the Silverstone circuit. Down the Hamilton Straight to start and into Abbey. Pretty straightforward here, though in the wet it's going to be an absolute mess. And Will Ans has already gone off. We'll pick it back up with Racing Ginger as he goes through Farm and Village. Again, pretty straightforward here. Definitely want to get a good line going into the loop, as it's so effectively called. Not much to be done here, though. As you exit Aintree and go into the Wellington Straight, you're going to need to make up a lot of time through those first couple corners in order to get within the DRS range. Now down into Brooklands and then Lovefields. Definitely an overtaking opportunity to be had here, and Soy Loco has already retired from the session. He is in the pit lane. Through Woodcote here. The track actually gets a very, very narrow on exit of Woodcote, so you'll have to be careful there to not go into gravel or anything, as he then goes through Copse Pretty straightforward there. However, a lot of people tend to go a bit wide out of cops and pick themselves up a track limits violation, and then as he makes his way past Maggots into Beckett's, and then finally Chapel. Now this Chapel right here is going to be one of the places where people tend to pick up those track limits violations, because you want to cut as much of that off as you can. Some people just sometimes take up way too much, and then down the DRS straight into Stowe. Stowe's a pretty straightforward corner, though again on exit, need to be careful. It starts to come up on you a lot sooner than you may think. The pit lane, very long and sometimes difficult pit lane as he heads into now Vale and Club. Pretty straightforward here, though the goal is to not, have any problems going through those two corners, as if you're next to someone, battling someone through that area, it's going to get very, very tricky, which we've seen before, as Racing Ginger is going to take provisional pole on our impromptu track guide of the Silverstone circuits, and then immediately nearly loses the car. Wow, that was a close call there, to say the least. But Racing Ginger currently on pole by, a very 8 seconds over Will Ans. Everyone but something very interesting has happened with my recording just then, which it's actually funny that's happened, because that happened at Silverstone last season as well. It happened twice. But Tiok goes to provisional pole at the moment, full 2 seconds faster than Ray 46, who had it for probably a split second there. Not much to be done. I will say, though, I think I'd rather have this rain in the race rather than qualifying, because that's going to... I tell you what, it's going to be a lot harder for drivers to actually figure out the circuit when it's a wet qualifying session. At least when it's a wet race, you already have a fair understanding of how the track reacts. So, it's a little bit of an inconvenience there. However, there's a lot going on. As we see, Tiok still on provisional pole. J.St. in the Mercedes filling in this week. Second place so far, about a second and a half behind, as he's letting a couple drivers go through, as we also saw Ray 46, Adaltonian, and Detail fill out the rest of the top 5, and then eventually, as it starts to get a little further back, it starts to creep up on the 5-second range, as Will Ans then just put in a much better lap. He went from about 12 seconds behind after spinning through Abbey, and then goes to about 5 seconds behind. Currently 9th place, the slowest to make a timed lap at the moment. Domingos had a bit of an interesting race here last time, was in a position for a very, very good race, and then picked up a time penalty going through Chapel, which kind of messed him up in a lot of ways. So hopefully he'll have it a lot cleaner today, as Capitano at the moment goes second. El Capitano 2019, second behind. He's the first person to crack within that 138 barrier there, or 139 I should say. Monkey Mafia then goes third, a solid lap from him, also setting a purple sector 3. Still about a second off the pace, but very nicely done there from him. Murfancelli, as we see, has also gone 5th at the moment, though it looks like he has invalidated this current lap and will kind of just waltz his way back around to the pit lane. Next across the line looks to be the Alfa Romeo of Humble Hippo, who's on a timed lap. Where's that going to put him? And it looks like he is going to stay 9th. Unfortunate there for him, as the Alfa Romeo team had a very solid week last week in Monaco. Definitely looking for more of the same here. Oh, and what's that? That is the Mercedes of Unholy Red Eye, who I'm not sure if he's made contact with anyone or is just letting the guys on timed lap go by. The camera angle is not really helping me out all that much, I will say. Oh, I had it. Yeah, so no wing damage there, just letting the guys go by, but that was in a very strange place to let them go by, so I was a little put off by that, I will say. As we see, that is the AlphaTauri of Capitano coming into the pit. So we've said before, the pit lane here at Silverstone is one of those. It just kind of goes on forever, and people tend to forget where the line is to actually go into the pits, and sometimes people will pick up those 5-second penalties for speeding into the pit lane, which I think Hash 9211 was guilty of last season. A couple guys were, actually, so it's not some sort of unheard of thing, that is for sure. As next to the line, I believe, is going to be... Nope, it's going to be Ray 46. If I can circle over to him. As he comes to the line now, he's going to stay 8th at the moment, as Will Ans, I must have missed that as I was talking about time. Oh, what's this? His pork chop's gone off. I think pork chops has gone off over there out of the loop and heading into Aintree. I believe he's actually gone off a little bit there. So unfortunate for him, though he finds himself in a good position, currently 6th, as I believe Humble Hippo just jumped back into the top 4. And Monkey Mafia is letting me know that it's going to be a dry race after this wet qualifying session. However, I will say the benefit to having a wet quali session is going to be that we're going to get a little bit of a mix-up in the order, or at least that was my original thought until I saw Will Ans go from 5 seconds behind to on provisional pole. So we could have literally anything here. However, I will say, as it appears, the AlphaTauri team are definitely, I don't want to say better suited for this race, but they definitely have the upper hand over Ferrari and literally any other team. As it stands at the moment, only one Ferrari in the field. As Edeltonians in a McLaren? Well, how exactly has that happened? Well, still yet to make a timed lap is Benz Rice and Saffron City. Saffron's actually gone on to the intermediates. An interesting choice there, and as we look at the tires fitted, Saffron is the only driver who has fit the intermediate tires, so I wonder how faster he is going to go. That could be something to look out for there, as he is on a timed lap. Let's actually hang around with him for a little bit, as he now heads into the Hangar Straight and into Stowe. As you see Capitano in the AlphaTauri also on his outlap. It looks like Saffron may be struggling for a little bit of grip. However, I will say he's handling it very nicely at the moment, despite being on the intermediates instead of the full wets. Out of into club he goes now down the Sir Lewis Hamilton Straight, and he's going to go 11th. So I don't think fitting the intermediates was exactly the best option there. I think if he was to definitely fit the full wets, he probably could have had a much better time, as it looks like he's got some serious pace. Just I think fighting the car for grip a little bit. That's definitely potentially the case. Oh, and what's going on there with Monkey Mafia? He's gone through a Pirelli sign. Caught a bit of a styrofoam to the face. Next up on an outlap, Capitano into the mix, though I think that is Tiak who's going to be coming to the line now as he heads into Stowe. Into Vale, 17, and then Club. I love how 17 doesn't actually have a name to it, but every other corner does. Well, into Club comes Tiak, and let's see what kind of lap he can put together, and Tiak will go provisional pole by 1/10 of a second. Wow, that is a very tight margin there, and I will say, very well-deserved. And I will say, though, now that Monkey has came through and said this is going to be a dry race, you could realistically put on as many wets as you want and, get away with it, because you probably won't need them during the race. So, as we've seen a couple times, pork chops on one lap. Oh, who's that that's gone off? That is Humble Hippo, who was in the middle of, actually was nearly in between Brooklands and Woodcote there. I don't rejoin track in front of Noganator. Okay, that worried me just a little bit. Right, well, Humble Hippo sitting 4th at the moment. His teammate Murph and Selly a little bit further behind in 9th. Not terrible. I will say that's not actually that bad of a starting spot, considering that the first 3 corners of this track are relatively tame. Though I will say, anything can happen. I've just noticed that Saffron City has put another lap on those intermediate tires and did not improve his time. So he might have to come in, probably right now actually, make that change to the full wets. Although I will say the rain does seem to be... the rain seems to be getting a lot lighter. In fact, Ray 46 is now on the intermediates. Detail best. Oh, that's on best. Oh, I was looking at the wrong thing. Well, anyways, so a couple drivers still on the intermediate tires, one being Pork Chops, another being Ray 46 on his outlap right now, Saffron on the inters, Noganator and Uncle Ben's Rice on the intermediates. I will say Uncle Ben's Rice might want to get it together soon, as he has yet to make a timed lap, though now he has fit the intermediates. Might actually be somewhat of a benefit here. The last attempt at a timed lap he made is, I think he invalidated, so he will definitely need to get that going very soon. So Untitled has retired from the session, and I think Noganator is going to be going past it very shortly, and he is actually gone off on exit of Woodco and has completely smacked the left-hand barrier there. And hopefully I will have found Untilted's replay and thrown it in then, because that is just so unfortunate that's had to happen to him. So Uncle Ben's Rice, I believe, actually starting a timed lap now, as it still doesn't say he's logged one yet. So interesting here, Will Ans and Teok have fit still the full wet tires. I'm not exactly sure if that is the best call, but I tell you what, they seem confident in it. I'm not sure that they'll have time to make another timed lap here, as they are both still in the pits. So currently Capitano is the only one in the top three that is on a timed lap, and well, he's invalidated as well, so don't mind me eating my words there. So it'll be Jasty in the Mercedes next to start his timed lap. I will say 8th place from him, not terrible. I tell you what, that would be kind of a welcome sight for the Mercedes team. And speaking of welcome, ooh, what's this here? Oh, I've gone on to the wrong Mercedes. I meant to say Unholy Red Eye, who is also fit the full wet tires. And while we have a moment, let's go over our point standings, starting with constructors. So Williams still has the top spot at the moment, but it's only by 7 points on Ferrari, 153 to 146. And then Renault jumping up into third, 28 points behind at 125. AlphaTauri lost the third spot, currently 41 points behind at 112. Alfa Romeo picking up 2 spots in the process, the biggest movers of the previous week, as they sit 65 points behind at 88. Racing Points at 74 points, which is 79 behind our leaders. Then Mercedes in 7th with 63. Haas only 2 points behind them at 61. And then Red Bull and McLaren, a 4-point gap between the two of them. However, lots of progress needs to be done there, I will say. Quite unfortunate that those two teams haven't yet found the grips with the season, as two very talented drivers. 4 if you count both teams. I was thinking, I was only really thinking one team there, but all 4 drivers on those two teams, definitely talented drivers. And who's this that's gone off? That looks like, oh, and it's Ben's Rice. Oh no, and has he lost any of his front wing? I can't tell from this camera angle. No, he doesn't appear to have lost any of his front wing. However, he is in a very nasty part of the track. He's invalidated his time. Hasn't lost any front wing, I will say, so that's good news. But now he's got to circle back all the way to the start-finish line to start his timed lap. And man, what an unfortunate turn of events that would be for currently someone who is second in the driver points as well. That is definitely not the welcome sight that Uncle Ben's Rice wanted, although I will say, from a dry race track to a wet one is a big change, and it potentially could make up a lot of progress. To the line now comes Unholy Red Eye to finish his timed lap on the full wets. He's only going to go up to 14th, leapfrogging Untitled, who has DNF. That looks like it's a Red Bull that's gone off. That is Noganator, who is just cutting the grass. I'm not sure how well grass is cut in the wet conditions, though, I will say. But next up to the line looks like it's going to be Monkey Mafia rounding exits of Club into the Hamilton Straight, and he's going to go 5th. Will Ann's going to go 2nd at the moment. So next up across the line to potentially get the pole is Humble Hippo, who, I don't know if you caught onto it there, has just set a purple Sector 2 as he makes his way into Stowe. Has fit the intermediate tires. Jasty in the Mercedes goes 4th. Very nicely done from him. But here comes Humble Hippo into Vale. looks to be on a very good lap at the moment. Let's see what he can do. Oh, and a lot of wheel spin out of turn 17. Even more wheel spin, and he goes around. So unfortunate there from Humble Hippo, who I believe was potentially on track to take pole position, and unfortunately, it just wasn't in the cards for him. So unfortunate for Humble Hippo there. Goodness me, honestly, that was a bit heartbreaking, honestly, because he had a perfect, he had a purple sector too. Just, wow, very unfortunate there. Next to the line comes Pork Chops, who appears to be going fourth. What a result there for Pork Chops. Unbelievable job. Hasn't split the two Alpha Tauris from second and third. However, I will say that is an absolutely cracking result there. Next to the line is Domingos, who Domingos looks to be on an okay lap at the moment. Let's see where that puts him. Up to fourth! What a lap from Domingos. That is exactly what he needed. Very, very nicely done there from Domingos. Unholy Red Eye, the only driver left to come to the line and finish out a timed lap. I believe he's also on the full wets as well. This definitely isn't going to be one of the faster laps that we see, and if I'm guessing correctly, he's also lost a bit of his front wing, yeah. So Tiok 91 going to be taking pole position here with Will Ans next to him on the front row, and then behind him Capitano and Domingos, third and fourth. This is going to be a very, very interesting grid here. I will say that is the best qualifying result of the season for Domingos. Very nicely done from him. Pork Chops on his Division 2 debut goes fifth. Nicely done. J-Stee on what I believe is his Midwest F1 debut goes sixth. Very, very nicely done from him, and that will wrap up our qualifying session as Unholy Red Eye goes into the pits and will eventually kill the session, I believe. Very, very nicely done, I will say. So Tiok 91 goes pole position. I don't want to say again, but again, he's done it before. But I will say that is an absolutely cracking qualifying session. So Tiok 91 goes first, second Will Ans, third Capitano, fourth is Domingos, Pork Chops in fifth, Stee in sixth, Humble Hippo seventh, Monkey Mafia eighth, Ray 46th and ninth, 10th is Murphincelli, 11th is Saffron, 12th is Detail, 13th Noganator, 14th Red Eye, 15th Adaltonian, 16th Racing Ginger, 17th Ben's Rice, and rounding out the field in 18th is Soy Logo. Gee, I had to go fast there to accumulate for the time at the top of the screen. Damn. It doesn't look like anybody's going to be the person to accidentally start the clock faster than everyone else, or before everyone else, as only the who was it? So Monkey Mafia's first to hit the button, and Murphincelli follows. I was about to say not only the division host but the league organizer is in the race. You might not want to hit the X button too soon. As I'm just learning now how much I despise this flavor of vitamin water. As we start our formation lap here, so it's going to be interesting to see the various tire strategies that we may get. It's going to be one of those races where a strategy might just come down to it, that is for sure. As you never know, some of these tracks really eat up the tires, and it's definitely those that are quick on their feet as far as overcoming when there is a safety car, adjusting for one. As we saw, Will Ans made a... Oh, and it looks like Tiok. Oh, that's right. Because it's a wet session, you're allowed to fit whatever tires you want. And as you see, Tiok, our leader, has gone and fit the mediums. I want to just look now at who has fit what tires. And look at that. So I think the majority of the field might be on the mediums. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. So 10 drivers have fit the mediums. Therefore, only 8 have fit the softs. As yeah, I'm going to say that's correct. Good powers of math that it may be. So it's definitely going to be one of those races where strategy is going to come down to it. And any potential safety cars that do happen, it's going to come down to who, you know, picks up on it the fastest. I remember Will Ans saying really lost out on a podium there in Bahrain because of a split-second strategy call to pit under the safety car, which apparently he didn't like at the end of the day. So I tell you what, it's going to be a super interesting one here. I'm definitely going to be having my eyes on Domingos. This is he's in a very good spot at the start of this race. I will say the two drivers behind him of Pork Chops and J-St behind him on the soft tires, he might be somewhat of a sitting duck. However, 3 out of the top 4 have fit those medium tires, including our leader Teok. So it could definitely this is going to play out so interesting. I do think though that Will Ans, my prediction, early predictions for this race, is that Will Ans is going to jump out to the lead. However, I do think that the people that started on the medium tires are going to have something of an advantage here towards the end of the race. So it's going to be super interesting to see as the drivers round the final turn of Club and into the Sir Lewis Hamilton Straight. As we are almost ready to go here in Silverstone, or at Silverstone. This isn't actually. I might be a little stupid if I'm honest. So as the drivers take to the grid, as the final drivers are rounding Club and getting to the spots, we're almost ready to go here at Silverstone. Here we are, the lights are coming on. We've got 5 lights at Monaco. This camera angle is god-awful. I can't even see the lights, but it's lights out and away we go here at Silverstone. And as predicted, Will Ans got the much better start than Teok. Teok was kind of a sitting duck. He's got Capitano behind him. Pork Chops moving swiftly up into 3rd. Very nice start from him. Domingos all the way back into 6th. What has happened to him? Monkey Mafia now trying to get around Ray 46 and Domingos at the same time. There goes Capitano ahead of him, trying to get around Humble Hippo as they now head into Aintree. Somewhat of a tame start, I will say, but as we look a little bit further back down the field, it all starting to come together now as far as getting filed out, though. Benz Rice making his way up into 15th off the initial start. J-St has fallen down to 16th. What could have happened with him? Hang on a minute, let me... Position change. J-St losing 10 spots on the start. I honestly... I wonder what's happened to him, but as you see there, Benz Rice getting around Noganator. As we head up the field a little bit more, here's Unholy Red Eye's got a big grouping of cars in front of him as Humble Hippo has retired. What has happened to Humble Hippo to cause his retirement? And he is off on the inside, just in between cops and maggots, and we have our first safety car of the race. So unfortunate there for Humble Hippo. Goodness me, he's lost 11 spots on the start of the race. That's probably after the DNF. But man, that is just so unfortunate.
Because those tires are gonna be cold.
Humble Hippo just DNF'd. Safety car, yes sir, thank you.
I will say Will Ans, as predicted, got the much better start over Teok, who apparently looks like Teok is going down the order, and Humble Hippo, quote-unquote, I hate this game. Man, a few words there, Humble Hippo, as he's just... I can't even. I honestly, I don't know what's happened to him. A lot of these drivers had unbelievable starts to this race, and then for some reason just lose spots. I mean, I honestly can't tell. This is one of those glitches where the order is just completely and totally messed up. It will appear that Will Ans and Teok still first and second. Pork Chops behind him in 3rd. What a start to the race Pork Chops had. I think right now I'm going to throw in the replay on that. I just wonder what's happened to J-St on the start. He started so well up the field and then just unfortunately lost 9 positions. The biggest mover of the race so far has to be Soy Loco, currently up to 9th after having the qualifying ban for pressing X way too early, up from 18th up into 9th. But I think potentially the biggest mover at the moment, not position-wise, but kind of where he is, has got to be Pork Chops, honestly. He's up into 3rd place. Not to mention he's got the soft tire fitted, so realistically, Teok might just be a sitting duck here. It's definitely possible. As he's now the only driver in the top 3 who has the medium tires. Behind Pork Chops in 3rd, Capitano and Domingos on the medium, so Monkey So Will Ants, Pork Chops, and Monkey Mafia are the three highest drivers on the soft tires at the moment. It looks like the softs actually kind of worked their way down to the back end of the field. I mean, Red Eye back there in 11th, 12th, Adaltonian on the softs. Ben's Rice, the only exception to the rule. He's in 13th on the mediums. And then Noganator, JST, and Racing Ginger all on the soft compound. As, oh no, Detail has picked up 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. That's very unfortunate for Detail, who, I guess, coming in to stop now, does he potentially have wing damage? And, yeah, it looks like they do have a wing ready for him there. Although it... Or, no, I guess they didn't. I saw the wing there. I thought they were going to put it on. That's kind of an interesting choice to pit now, I'd say. I'm not really sure what the details are behind that. Yes, I know you can boo me all you want at the moment, after that pun. So safety car early on into the race. Detail picking up the first penalty of the day, the 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. Again, it's going to be really interesting to see how the strategies work out. I mean, Will Ans definitely has the upper hand on Teok, and then Pork Chops, I think, could also make his way around Teok eventually. Maybe on the safety car restart. But I still think at the end of the race it might be Teok and Capitano as well as Domingos that get the upper hand because of starting on the medium tires. There's definitely strategy as definitely going to come into play. It's going to be very interesting to see as... I was actually a little confused as to why I saw Teok, the leader pole sitter, on the medium tires, then I remembered, oh, it rained. Can't really do anything about that, so... yeah, I mean, who would have thought? Safety car, I believe, is going to be coming in this lap. I must have, once again, missed the notification on my screen saying that that was the case. I think I'm going to go on board with Capitano on this start, potentially a little bit further back, depends on how I feel. I'm actually going to go on board with Monkey Mafia. He's in an interesting spot where he's on the soft compound, a couple drivers in front of him on the mediums, might be a big mover on this start, so we're going to stick with Monkey Mafia on the safety car restart. And as we come back to green flag, it looks like Will Ans definitely got the best start out of the top three there, and Monkey Mafia already trying to make his way around Domingos going into Abbey. May have accidentally gone across the curbing there. Oh, Saffron got really wide through there, and no, Saffron, wow, what a save from Saffron. I really thought that was the end of the race there for Saffron, but a brilliant save for him. Absolutely well done. Domingos now fallen back down into 8th. Behind him a little bit, Murfinselli was battling alongside with Unholy Red Eye. That is still the case. Unholy following along very closely on his left rear. Now as they go into Brooklyn's, a lot of contact there between the two drivers. I'm pretty sure that's Adaltonian that's just sent it up the inside, nearly made the overtake. Oh, and who's that that's going around? That's Unholy Red Eye, who I believe may have made contact with Adaltonian on exit of Luffield, and he is now cutting some grass. I saw them go 3 abreast through the corner, and I think that's just what's happened. I think they just simply ran out of track space. So very unfortunate there. Teok looks to be putting some kind of gap on... Teok is putting the gap on Pork Chops at the moment. Speaking of Pork Chops, he's currently under pressure from Capitano as they head through Stowe. A little bit further behind, it looks like Monkey Mafia wants in on this battle, as well as Adaltonian is our first victim to time penalties. And no, Capitano's going around, and he's going around on exit of 17. As he is kind of on the inside of the circuit there. This is going to be a very tricky situation to rejoin safely. Wow, and I didn't even really caught what happened there. I wonder if he just lost the car. Maybe on exit of 17, maybe hit the curbing a little bit too heavy and just spun the tires. It's definitely a possibility for sure. And wow, is that Unholy Red Eye right behind Pork Chops there? It very much is. So Unholy Red Eye, our first back marker of the race. through the field a little bit more, it looks like Ray 46 has got this battle between Soy Loco and Monkey Mafia ahead of him, still just trying to get within that potential DRS range behind those two. Monkey Mafia trying his best to break the slipstream of Soy Loco, whilst also trying to get a little bit closer to Pork Chops. I will say it would appear that Pork Chops, a little bit of a sitting duck at the moment. Though if we look at the tires, and as I predicted, the top four, 3 of them are on that soft tire, as Saffron City now picking up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. So 3 drivers in the field with penalties. As these guys head through Stowe, and it looks like Will Ans has now built up a 2-second lead over Teok, and then Teok's got about 2.5 over Pork Chops, but behind them, Soy Loco definitely wanting to make a move at Monkey Mafia here as they go through the Hamilton Straight here and into Abbey. And you can see Soy is definitely pushing the pace here. I tell you what, he's keeping right up with these 3rd and 4th guys of Pork Chops and Monkey Mafia, despite being on the medium tires, doing an excellent job, and Monkey did not get the exits of the loop that he wanted, and Soy Loco is going to make the overtake to the inside, potentially side by side as they go down the Wellington Straight. Very nicely done there from Soy Loco, as he had the DRS as well, and Monkey Mafia now getting pushed down to 5th, but very nicely done there from Soy Loco. Ray 46 now trying to potentially make a move on Monkey Mafia at some points. He's definitely starting to catch up. That is for sure. That gap is slowly starting to close even further. A little bit further back we go. Murfinselli trying to make the move on Domingos, and Domingos, as you saw, just got really wide on exit of Cops. Into Beckett's they go. Domingos is not having the line through those corners that he may have wanted. He definitely lost a bit of pace there. As it looks like a little bit further up the field, here comes Soy Loco on the inside of Pork Chops into Stowe, and Soy Loco moving up into 3rd and then gets on the grass, and I believe might actually end up losing the position anyway as they head into Vale. No, and he's going to keep the spot, though. I will say, very nicely done to save the car after going through the grass like that. Surely that was about to end in disaster, but somehow it didn't. Nicely done there from Soy Loco, gets himself up into 3rd. Look a little bit further back. Here's Murfinselli to the inside of Domingos as they go into Village. Getting the overtake done. Just has someone gone off behind them, potentially, but it's fixed itself quickly, whatever it was. And now Murfinselli's going to have the DRS on Domingos as they head down the Wellington Straight. Up ahead a little bit further, Ray 46 trying to make the move on Pork Chops and Monkey Mafia here as those two battle. Definitely trying to take as much time as he can. Monkey's made himself get up into 3rd. Pork Chops getting wide on exits of Luffield and then going into Woodcote. May have gone onto the curbing there just a little bit. Somehow it did not invalidate track limits, but here comes Murfinselli under pressure from Benz Rice as they head out of Cops. Actually going to be losing 2 positions, only 1 position I mean, but could have potentially had the overtake on Domingos. But anyways, here comes Adaltonian now as, and it doesn't look like Adal got the right line through those couple corners whatsoever, and he's lost any ground that he did have. So here comes Benz Rice on the end of Domingos as they now head into Stowe. It's going to be very close. And Benz Rice playing it safe and deciding to kind of break a little bit earlier than Domingos there, give himself plenty of space as you don't need to necessarily make that overtake right now. Oh, and Benz Rice getting on the curbing on the inside of Vale, losing a couple spots now as Murfinselli dives down to the inside, taking the position. Benz Rice getting very, very wide on exit a club, I believe, going down into the straight, and temporarily lost the spot. But anyways, here's Murfinselli and Domingos was side by side there for a second. I will say very good battles here amongst the midfield, and up a little bit further ahead, here comes Pork Chops to the inside of Monkey Mafia. No contact to be made so far. Very nice battle this is. Still side by side as they exit Luffield into Woodcote, and it's still side by side down the straights. I don't know if that's the international pit straight. It must be that. That must be the international pit straight. I should have figured this out beforehand, but still side by side between these two. And then as we go along with Ray 46's perspective, he might actually be able to make a move on Monkey Mafia now, as Monkey kind of got shoved out of position there. Porkchop's not exactly taking the best line through Beckett's, though does a good job of keeping it within track limits, but now is a sitting duck to Monkey Mafia as they head into Stowe. It's going to be side by side, and Monkey Mafia looks to have the overtake for now. Porkchop's got into the rear end of Monkey Mafia. Ironic how two of the league admin getting into each other, and then there goes Saffron picking a position. Ray 46 just tried he tried an online lobby dive bomb, and then gets into Domingos as he tries to rejoin the circuit. Domingos goes around. Multiple cars going around, and I believe that all had to have started with Ray 46, I guess just missing his braking point going into Vale. Wow, and Murfinselli picks up 10 seconds for exceeding track limits. I actually cannot believe, I'm not entirely sure, did Ray have contact from behind, as it looks like Unholy Red Eye's gone around on the inside of Farm. But I struggle to believe that Ray 46 just missed his braking point that drastically. So Murfinselli and Unholy Red Eye now have 10 seconds of time penalty. But I want to throw in that replay right now. We'll say, though, Ray 46 has definitely picked up his fair share of wing damage now. Can't much see it from this camera angle, but here's a nice three-car battle in the midfield here. Here's Saffron City, despite having 6 seconds of penalty. He's got Soy Loco and Adaltonian in front of him. It looks like Soy really wants this position on Adaltonian as they head into Stowe. It's going to be very close, and it looks like Soy's going to get it for now. Nicely done there. Adaltonian maybe didn't get the line out of Stowe that he wanted. Might be under even more pressure from Saffron now. And who's that coming into the pits? Thankfully, it is a Ray 46 who does have quite the amount of front wing damage there. And he's also picked up 5 seconds for speeding into the pit lane. Monkey Mafia going across the curbing, going into Abbey, somehow didn't pick up 3 seconds for track limits there. A little bit surprised, I will say. The biggest position gain has to be Uncle Ben's Rice. 14 positions gained up into the top 3. Unbelievable stuff there. And I have to say, pretty much everything has fell his way so far. As you see here, Soy Loco and Adaltonian in a little bit of a battle here. Looks like Soy maybe wants to get around Monkey very, very shortly. I will say Porkchops is starting to pull out just a little bit, now outside of that 1 second DRS window. Not that they'll need it immediately, as they still have Maggots 11, 12, Beckett's, and Chapel to go through. So much has gone on already in this race, and we're not even halfway through. I mean, we're teetering on the brink of halfway through, but we're not there yet. And here now comes Soy Loco, potentially trying to make the move on Monkey Mafia as Domingos picks up 3 seconds, almost making it side by side going into Stowe. The Soy Loco does a good job realizing that that wasn't the place to make the overtake at that time, and does a good job of keeping off of it for now. So I want to look at the people in the field who are on, on the medium tires. I will say Teok and Ben's Rice, 2 out of the top 3 on the medium tires. Nicely done from them. Then it goes Pork and Monkey on the softs. So the field's starting to get a little bit even as far as who started on the softs, who started on the mediums. We'll say Ray 46, Murfinselli, and Unholy Red Eye all have fitted the hards. So that actually could potentially be really helpful for them, considering that is the only stop they'll need to make. Adaltonian still trying to close in on this battle for the 5th spot here, and so does Saffron City. He wants in the mix as well. Nice little 4-car battle going on here, though a little bit further back. It looks like J-St wants the overtake around Detail. Looks like he might have the pace to do so as well, despite being on the 10-lap-old softs compared to Detail's 7-lap-old mediums. I will say it's definitely doing his best to keep up with him as much as he can. Looks like Adaltonian may have fallen off the pace just a little bit here as they go he goes through Beckett's. Up ahead here, Soy Loco trying to make the move around Monkey Mafia. Will Ann's going to come into the pits now, so our leader pitting, and this is exactly kind of what I was figuring was going to happen, is those that started on the medium tires could potentially have the up-on strategy here, as Teok's going to inherit the lead. Will Ann's coming into the pit now, as well as Adaltonian. So definitely the drivers that started on the soft tires will be coming in this lap as Will Ann slowly starts to drop down the order, meaning Pork Chops has inherited the 3rd spot, though he still has yet to make his pit stop. So at this moment in time, it looks like Soy Loco is going to be the next person to get into the podium positions. Then Saffron and Detail aren't going to be that far behind. This is, of course, considering that Pork Chop and Monkey will be pitting this lap. It's very possible that does happen, as Monkey Mafia is still trying to find his way back to Soy Loco for the 4th spot. I tell you what, these 3 cars of Pork Chop, Soy Loco, and Monkey Mafia have been battling it out for the longest time for the final podium positions. I know we saw Teok and Will Ans there battling for it before Will Ans came into the pits, and then Benz Rice got up there. So I will say, this has been a very, very intense race so far. And Saffron making some sort of error there as he heads into Maggots. I'm not really sure what's happened, though now he's under pressure from J-St, and then as you see, Noganator also potentially wants in this as well, as it looks like Pork Chops got overtaken there by Soy Loco going into Stowe, and it looks like Soy Loco's picked up 3 seconds. Now comes in Pork Chops and Monkey Mafia, also coming in Saffron City, which is a little interesting to me considering he's got he's on the medium tires, and I believe he's got 6 seconds, so he won't be able to serve them in the pits. Though, as we predicted, those that started on the medium tires now picking up a lot of positions. And then I guess now the question is, how much time can J-St make up as to not lose any more spots? Because he's currently in, I would say, a really good position here, as currently now the only driver in the field still on the soft compound. I don't know how many spots he's going to lose when he does pit, as this is a very, as we said, long pit road. So, I mean, I tell you what, he might be in a very good spot here. Now the field's starting to get a little bit dispersed, I will say that much, but if we look at the Haas of Pork Chops, still under pressure from Monkey Mafia, but now Adaltonian wants into this mix as well. All 3 of these drivers, in fact, even further back to Noganator in 12th, all on the fresh medium compound. So what do we have here? Potentially a battle for teammates, and Saffron City picking up another 3 seconds. That puts him at 9 seconds. A tough break there for Saffron City, as I tell you what, the Williams team definitely going to need results here to kind of keep up with the pace that Ferrari is starting to put on them, though I will say it's going to be very nice with Teok scoring the win, but not having the second Ferrari teammate is going to be very detrimental. And here comes Ray 46 around his teammates of the Noganator back there for the 12th position. A little bit further up, Monkey Mafia starting to try to make the move on Pork. It looks like Adaltonian's fallen off again. I tell you what, I don't know if Adaltonian's just not getting the line correctly going through, going into Maggots. That's definitely a possibility, as every time he's kind of going through there, he's losing a little bit of ground. So it's going to be interesting to see as J-St comes into the pits now. He's just left. So where is that going to drop him down to? At least probably 10th or 11th is my guess. And yeah, it's definitely going to be going down to probably 11th position now. Not to mention you got the 2 Red Bulls of Ray 46 and Noganator now rounding the corner, though I will say he's now going to be getting back up to speed. And Monkey Mafia really trying to make the move around Pork Chops. These guys have been battling it out all race. Adaltonian once again trying to get in on the mix. Monkey Mafia trying to break the slipstream there as they go into Brooklands. And Adaltonian side by side with Monkey Mafia as they now go into Woodcote. Still side by side. What a race this is turning out to be for these two. And it looks like Monkey Mafia is eventually going to get that position. So now my question is when are these guys that started on the medium tires going to have to come in? So you think potentially those that did start on the mediums might be at somewhat of a disadvantage here, because now you've got a lot of drivers, that being Will Ann's currently furthest up, who's on the medium tires, though despite being a little bit behind. Oh, and what's this that's happened here? Pork Chops has gone off, out of Stowe. Adaltonian got into it as well. He got the, I think he lost a bit of his front wing after making contact with Pork Chops. I was too busy looking at the list of drivers there to see what's actually happened, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that replay in right now. And so our biggest battle on the field now ground to a screeching halt as Pork Chops made contact there, or Adaltonian made contact with Pork Chops. I'm not really sure how that transpired. Though I will say Adaltonian has now fit the soft, so that could be interesting, as he can definitely make it last 11 laps. I mean, I don't doubt that whatsoever from Adaltonian, as a matter of fact. Though he's going to be dropped down to 17th, I mean. So now the field just a lot dispersed, as it looks like the closest battle on track at the moment is Domingo starting to close in on El Capitano, potentially, who these guys are both on the same age of medium tires, and it's going to definitely be interesting when drivers start to come in. And speaking of coming into the pits, that is going to be Soy Loco, the first to pit, the first of those who started on the medium tires to pit. It's going to be mega interesting. Oh, as well as El Capitano coming in. So a couple drivers that started on the medium tires coming in right now, and as you can see, they are putting on the softs. So Benz Rice and Detail. Benz Rice and Teok, excuse me, definitely going to be holding on to this lead and the positions as long as they can. Again, I'm not really sure how it's going to work out with these guys, especially in the top two that have yet to pit. So when the next driver comes in, I'll time how long it takes them, as I'd definitely like to figure that out when the next driver comes in, which according to my calculations should be one of these three drivers that have yet to pit between Teok, Benz Rice, and Domingos. And it looks like Teok is coming in now, so from the pit board on in, the timer has started, so I'm going to be kind of calculating this. Benz Rice has come in behind him, so it looks like Domingos might be... I don't want to say he's going to be inheriting this lead. I think it's definitely going to be Detail. Domingos is next up to pit on that front as well. So Teok fitting the softs, and you'd have to believe that Benz Rice is doing exactly the same, and he is. So Detail is on two, I would say, 2-lap younger tires than that of Teok and Benz Rice, but coming out of the pits now, and it looks like Teok finally getting the jump, a 40-second stop. I don't know if he had to replace a wing or what, but that was 40 seconds it took to get from one end of the pit lane to the other. So it looks like right now, who we have that's gone off? Nobody. No Ganator has picked up 3 seconds, though. So this is going to be interesting. How much ground is Teok going to be able to make on the soft compound? Will Ann's is on 4-lap-old medium tires, so he will definitely be able to get to the end. Teok on those fresh softs, though the question is how much is the difference going to be as far as degradation goes between the soft and medium tires, to where can Will Ann's potentially have the advantage? As we've just seen that Detail has picked up 3 seconds, which I believe was going through Beckett's. It could be wrong, though definitely not what he wanted to happen. Looks like as we scroll a little bit further back, Capitano might be trying to make a move on Pork Chops as they go into left field. Side by side, as they go into Cops, and Pork Chops got a little bit squirrely there on exit of Cops, ends up losing the spot, as well as going really, really wide. Very interesting there. Just side by side, I think maybe he panicked a little bit. I'm not really sure what's happened, to be completely honest. But I will say Teok definitely making up ground on Will Ann's. Quite a lot, actually. He started, and his gap after his pit stop The gap was at 4 seconds. It's down to 3, all within the matter of probably 1 or 2 laps now. I mean, he's making up some serious ground, and I don't think he's quite done yet. Again, as we scroll a little bit further back, Porkchop still trying to find his way back to Capitano. Though Capitano on those fresh softs, I don't think Pork is going to be able to get to him at the moment, though, potentially, as the race goes on. That might be even more helpful. I mean, you don't actually suppose that Detail could make these mediums last the whole way. I highly doubt that. Will-Ans definitely will. But Detail, not confident in. As you can also see, Detail maybe potentially starting to run out of fuel. He's got a yellow fuel symbol there, so that can mean he's in mode 3 a lot more, maybe just didn't adjust the fuel correctly for this race. I'm not really sure what to make of that, but definitely throwing everything that he can at the track. And now it looks like Teok starting to potentially close in on Will-Ans, not quite within DRS range, about 1.5 seconds behind, though has just set the fastest lap of the race. So this is going to be close between them, but more importantly at the moment, Capitano and Noganator exiting Chapel. Down the hangar straight they go, and it looks like Capitano's going to easily walk away with this position. Very nicely done there from Capitano. And now a little bit up the field, Teok still trying to find his way to Will-Ans. I can tell you Teok is definitely throwing everything he can at the circuit in hopes of getting within DRS range within these next couple laps. He knows that Detail is still going to have to pit, and even then Detail, or Will-Ans rather, is now within that 3 seconds on Detail, so now even if Detail wanted to make the mediums go the whole race, which I'm not sure he could, he's going to be losing spots anyways because of the penalty, so it's going to be even interesting to see Teok now closing in within a second. And as we scroll a little bit back, it looks like Porkchop's, is he going to make the move on Noganator going into Brooklands? And I think he will. Absolutely brilliant job there from Porkchops to make that overtake stick as well. Nicely done from him. Porkchops, who did not, I would say... Y'all, I'm not sure what is wrong with my PlayStation at this moment, but it keeps doing some sort of little blue screen. And I'm not sure what's going on. Though a little bit further back, it would appear Porkchops is still under pressure from Noganator. And even further back a little bit more, it looks like Saffron, or Domingos wants in on this battle as well, as he's starting to get even closer. More importantly now, Will-Ans has suddenly found himself very, very close to Detail. I'm not sure if Detail potentially went off in one part of the circuit. I'm not really sure, because that gap was about 2 seconds last lap, and it's been cut down to 0.5 seconds. But if you're Will-Ans right now, you definitely want to get around Detail as fast as you possibly can. And oh, and who's that that's going off? That looks like it is Domingos, who is around on the inside of the loop. Doesn't have to worry about anyone coming through aside from Racing Ginger, though he hasn't lost any front wings, so that's good news for him. But an unfortunate incident there. Detail coming into the pits now. So Teok and Will-Ans, this battle for the lead, very much on and alive here. The question is, how are the tires going to look between Teok's at the end of the race, as Ben's Rice now gets up into third? How well are Will-Ans' tires going to be at the end of this race, and how much better could they potentially be than Teok's softs? Goodness me, this is mega, this one. We're going to have a battle for the win here, ladies and gentlemen. We are just getting started with the action as El Capitano gets around Ray 46, and I believe... well, Detail's coming into the pits now, so Detail has lost quite a bit of positions as well. And oh, and it looks like Adaltonian's picked up 3 seconds for going beyond track limits. Unfortunate for him, as we see Saffron getting around Noganator as they head into Abbey. Nicely done on the overtake there, though it doesn't look like Noganator is giving up anytime soon. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead very much underway as they go through Beckett's and Chapel. Will-Ans trying his damnedest to keep Teok off of him, though I think honestly it might be a matter of time before Teok gets this overtake. However, assuming Will-Ans' tires can stay healthy towards the end of this race, it might be even closer than this, but this is definitely the battle to be watching at the moment for the lead. As Will-Ans gets a big lockup going into Vale. Goodness me, this one's gonna be close. Down the Lewis Hamilton straight there. Now into Abbey. How much pressure has Will Ans has to be under right now? He's got to have an absolutely flawless 4 laps, and not to mention pull off the defensive driving performance of his dreams. And who is that? That's looks like it's Pork Chops, who's gone off over there in Beckett's. Oh, unfortunate again for Pork Chops. So unfortunate for him. But now the battle for the lead going into Brooklands. Will Ans getting another big lockup. Teok right behind him. Will Ans giving him a lot of the right-hand lane. And as they go into Woodcote, it looks like Will Ans still has it for now, but you'd have to believe that Teok is wanting to get this overtake done very shortly. Will Ans trying his best to keep him out of the slipstream. Now as they go out of Cops, it looks like Teok might have an opening here as they go into Maggots. I really hope this doesn't come down to someone getting a time penalty, because that would absolutely kill the mood. And it looks like Teok could potentially get the overtake this time by... Oh, I don't think... he might not get it here. Will Ans has a lot of straight line speed, I will say. It looks like Teok is making up a lot of ground going through the corners, but it looks like Will Ans' straight line speed is unbelievable at the moment. Here we are, lap 23 of 26. Teok 91 on the rear end of Will Ans. The battle for the lead as they now head through Farm and into Village. Unholy Red Eye picks up 5 seconds for speeding into pit lane. I really hope this battle goes cleanly. It's now down to 0.3 of a second as they exit the loop and head into Aintree. It looks like I think Teok may have made somewhat of a mistake there as he suddenly lost about 0.5 of a second to Will Ans. Did he potentially just get into the back of Will Ans? It's very possible. I mean, I don't see any wing damage, though he's lost a bit of time. I will say, though, despite the pressure that Will Ans is under, he is handling this track absolutely flawlessly at the moment. I've only seen him make a couple of lockups, and those lockups obviously resulted in time being lost. However, at the moment, this is still going to be... this might be a last lap deciding pass at some point, I will say. Now through Beckett's and into Chapel. Looks like Teok may have gotten into the grass a little bit. Teok, could he potentially get the overtake this time by? He's trying to use all of the slipstream he possibly can. Into Stowe they go, and Will Ans brakes really, really late and ends up doing an amazing job keeping Teok behind him. You could see Will Ans hit the brakes a lot later and keeps the position for now. And now you have to wonder, are Teok's tires going to start fading away very shortly? You know that the softs can go about 11 laps. They're halfway there already. The mediums can definitely last to the end, but goodness me, this one's going to be close. Big lockup into Village there for Will Ans. Not to mention Uncle Ben's Rice also wants into the mix. Could we potentially have a 3-car battle for the win? It might happen. I'm not really sure. Into Brooklands they go. Will Ans still has the lead, doing an excellent job of handling the circuits. Big lockup as soon as I say that. Goodness me, that's a Murrayism there if I've ever seen one. Teok is using all of the overtake button he can, using as much slipstream as possible as they head into Cops. Teok using all of the track he possibly can. Will Ans doing a great job. I think maybe had to slow himself down there a little bit to not exceed track limits. Now as they head into Beckett's, it looks like Will's definitely getting the better line. Teok may be struggling through that section of the track, and he's definitely lost some ground to Will Ans. I think just from that, the overtake might not be in the cards at this moment in time. It definitely looks like Will Ans has a better handle on the circuit. Teok still in hot pursuit. Ben's Rice slowly creeping his way to within 1 second. It's teetering on about 1 second and 1/10 as we head on to lap 25. 2 laps to go at Silverstone. Teok still hot on the heels of Will Ans. Will Ans another big lockup, though I will say Will Ans is doing a great job of keeping him there. And now Ben's Rice wants into the mix. We're going to have a 3-car battle for the win, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable. So Teok, I don't think, can make the overtake this time by as they head into Brooklands. Will Ans is right there. He's got to feel all the pressure in the world. And there's a big mistake from Will Ans. Side by side, and Benz Rice is going to file in right behind them. Will Ans somehow kept the position, and now Benz Rice wants into this. It's a 3-car battle for the win. Teok right there on the inside of Will Ans. Benz Rice wants into it as well. Teok and Will Ans both getting really wide. Here comes Benz Rice up the right-hand side. Doesn't make the overtake yet, but as they go into Beckett's, it looks like Teok might be able to make the overtake. Oh, Teok gets really wide. Definitely not the line that he wanted. Benz Rice is going to get around Teok as they go through the hangar straight. Unbelievable stuff here, and it's not over yet. Can Benz Rice do the double and potentially pull off the overtake on Will Ans? He's going to get really wide on the exit of Stowe. Somehow doesn't pick up a penalty. Teok's still right behind. Big lockup there from Will Ans as he heads into Vale. It's a 3-car battle for the win. Benz Rice, no, Benz Rice just lost it. Benz Rice just lost it on exit of club. Oh no, and I think that's just potentially thrown it completely out the window for Uncle Benz Rice. So unfortunate there, but as you see, Teok is potentially on low fuel mode. He might just be conserving. It's flashing red for Teok, and Will Ans might walk away with this one. I don't want to say on default, but goodness me, that's going to be the break of Will Ans' life if he can keep Teok behind him. Another big lockup there from Will Ans as he heads into Brooklands. Benz Rice still a little far behind to make an efficient charge at the win, and yeah, that's pretty much going to confirm it. A 3-second time penalty for Uncle Benz Rice. So unfortunate that he had to lose it on exit of club. And wow, that is unbelievable. Bad luck from him, though. Teok still hot on the heels of Will Ans as they head into Beckett's. It's a 0.2 of a second gap difference, and now down the hangar straight. Teok, this is going to be his best chance at the win here as they head down the hangar straight. Teok, I don't think is going to get to it this time by, though he's still got a couple more corners to make something happen. He's going to have to absolutely push it into Will Ans here as they go into Vale. Into Vale they go. It's very, very close. Will Ans is going to need to keep it perfect, and he will. Will Ans is going to take the win at Silverstone in the race of the season. I'm calling it now. We're only four rounds into the season, and I am already calling it the race of the season. I believe it. This is a classic, an instant classic here at Silverstone. Absolutely wonderful stuff from all of the drivers. Will Ans taking the win. I'm sure he's got to be absolutely pleased with that one. So an unbelievable display from Will Ans to take the win. Teok, an amazing drive to come second. Benz Rice, a very solid drive as well, despite kind of losing it on exit club and then picking up the 3 seconds is still a great drive from him. And Will Ans picking up the victory at Silverstone. Absolutely brilliant job from him. Teok coming in second, and then Benz Rice coming in third. Soy Loco picking up driver of the day. Unbelievable stuff here. As Will Ans, in his home Grand Prix no less, takes home the victory. Absolutely brilliant stuff. We will be getting to those interviews very shortly. So our final results, Will Ans in first, Teok in second, Uncle Benz Rice in third, Soy Loco fourth, J-Stee in fifth, Detail sixth, Monkey Mafia in seventh, Capitano in eighth, Ray 46th in ninth, 10th is Saffron, 11th is Noguinair, 12th is Mirth and Selly, 13th Amigos, 14th Adultonian, 15th Racing Ginger, 16th Pork Chop, 17th is Unholy Red Eye, and then rounding out the field in 18th is Humble Hippo. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have our podium finishers here, and guys, I know we're only 4 races into the season, but that is race of the season, and I don't think anything else is going to change my mind about that. We'll start with you, Uncle Benz Rice. First of all, very, very strong showing from you, especially not having the qualifying that you wanted. What was your mindset going into the race?
Just damage control, honestly. I was just trying to get like as far up the grid as I could, but it turned out better than I thought.
And man, you were showing a lot of pace there towards the end. Take me through those last couple of laps. I mean, your heart must have been racing, man. You were almost right there.
Oh yeah, no, I was pushing. Like honestly, I expected to crash honestly because I was risking it, but I almost got to first. But then on the last corner, I almost lost it in front of Tiak, so I just let him go. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm gonna be honest. As soon as you started coming into that fight, you had me out of my seats, literally standing up watching this race. I really thought, I mean, already with the two drivers battling for the win, never mind having you in it as well, just made it all the more exciting. It's unfortunate that it didn't end your way. However, next week we go to Russia, a track which not a lot of people really enjoy, but is this a strong one for you?
I don't know, it's like I have my good days there and my bad. There's times where I get like 20 seconds of penalties, and then there's times where I keep it clean, so it's just whether I show up that day or not.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Very, very well-deserved podium as well. After that, actually unbelievable job from you. Very nice drive.
Yep, thank you guys. GG boys.
And now on to Will Ans. Will, you scored the win at your home Grand Prix, no less. I will say, how did you feel about transitioning from the wet quali into the dry race?
Well, I wasn't in the best frame of mind, to be honest. I came out on the intermediate tyres to set my last qualifying lap, and the time ran out, and I was about 2 meters from the line to start my lap, so I couldn't get a lap in. So starting PT, I was already pretty frustrated, but then I just sort of focused myself on the start, and I think with Tiak being on those mediums and me being on those softs, I was clean past before the first corner. I could just put the focus on trying to pull out that gap.
Yeah, so about that, so you ended up going at the end of the race onto the mediums, Tiak behind you, and Ben's Rice, I think, for that matter, also, they were on the soft tires. Were you confident in finishing the race on the medium tires? Did you think you'd still have the pace as some of the guys that would end on the softs would?
I was confident that I'd get to the end all right. I think I didn't take this. I took the softs to around, I think was it lap 10 or 11? I don't recall. But 16 laps on the mediums should have been doable. They were struggling at the end though, coming out of the traction zone at the turn just before the first sort of long straight. They were really struggling, but yeah, made it to the end in the nick of time.
Yeah, absolutely, and I will say those last 5 laps or so, Tiak was right against you, and you made very little to no mistakes through those last 5 laps. And speaking of very little to no mistakes, Russia up next, a track that definitely requires very little to no mistakes, especially keeping it within track limits. How do you think you'll do?
Track limits is always something that I feel like I'm pretty strong at. I usually pick up fewer penalties than the people around me. I mean, I think so Uncle Ben, he picked up those 3 seconds today, so if he's picking up 3 seconds at Silverstone, I'm sure he's going to be a bit worried about Russia, but I'm feeling confident.
Well, an absolutely brilliant drive from you, a very well-deserved win. I'm sure you've got to be absolutely buzzing about that. I definitely would be if I was in your shoes, but absolutely brilliant drive. And thank you guys for joining us. And then for all of us here at the Midwest F1 League, thank you very much for joining us. And we will see you next week when you take on the Sochi Ultradome for Week 5.